sometimes conservative national political campaigns outside of San Francisco like to talk about political candidates as having, quote, San Francisco values. Cue the eerie music. Well, what those of us who live in Northern California mean by San Francisco values are what are exemplified by our next guest, Mark Murphy, candidate for school board. How are you?
I'm well. Good to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, family has really changed. I mean, since you even moved here, a young man from Iowa in 1991, correct?
Absolutely.
How long have you been really committed to youth and family issues?
I've been serving our youth here, David, for probably 20 plus years now. But the story goes back much further than that, back to my growing up years and the example that my father set for the four of my siblings and myself, and just in a greater community about serving children. So I've been doing my part here for 20 plus years, but the examples go back much further than that in my life.
Right. Now, you've got a rich resume here in the Bay Area. Talk to our viewers a little bit about that.
You bet. So again, roughly 20 years ago, I had the opportunity to start doing some volunteer work, and I chose to go into the Western Addition and do some tutoring for young youth at risk who needed help. And so science and math are strong suits for me, so I spent a couple years doing that. My husband of 19 years has been a teacher now for 16 years at Oregon Elementary out in the Avenues, and I've been long serving on many school communities or school what's the word I'm looking for?
Groups.
Thank you.
Advisory committees. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. And then serving on our Human Rights Commission has an LGBT advisory committee specifically that came out of the shootings of Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Milk. And for 5 years there, served with a number of our LGBT colleagues here in San Francisco focusing on youth issues. And then most recently, I am co-chair for our San Francisco Proposition H, which is the Public Education Enrichment Fund. It is a set-aside to our school district that this year is $75 million.
Now, you said to me before we started shooting that the fact that you're an openly gay man running for school board has resulted in zero expressions of homophobia. But that wasn't always true. I mean, the first openly gay member of the San Francisco School Board, Tom Amiano, former San Francisco supervisor, now California State Assembly, he was elected during a time when they were trying to actually keep openly gay teachers out of classrooms. That is still the case in some states around the country. I mean, having a San Francisco school board member who's openly gay is still kind of unique in the country, isn't it?
It is unique. However, we in San Francisco haven't been as progressive as we think we are. When I share with people, we've only had 2 gay men ever serve on our school board. You still get a lot of oh my's or I can't believe that. So while we have had a number of gay candidates run over the years, we have still only had 2 gay men ever serve on our San Francisco school board.
What has been your contact with other school boards around the country? Maybe I'll make it even broader than that. I mean, you've been devoted to education, especially working with at-risk youth for 20 years. How do some of the lessons learned here in San Francisco translate into other communities around the country? Because, nowadays there are openly gay parents in Iowa, in Virginia. How are our lessons learned impacting the welfare of those kids and families?
Sure. We are so fortunate to have, as you well know, so many institutions here in San Francisco that serve LGBTQ children and youth. Not only just in the school district, we have 20 plus years rich history of a student services organization that provides curriculum, and I could go on and on. But as well, we have so many other community institutions, Lyric and Huckleberry House, and again, so many rich institutions here that serve our LGBT young people that much of that work that we do here spreads to other communities, other states through conventions or group meetings or other ways of advocacy. So other people throughout the country are benefiting from the work that we do here literally on the ground in San Francisco.
Right. So how worried are you about the election?
Worried. It's not about being worried. It's about doing the hard work. It's about seeing it all the way through to November 4th at 8 p.m. when the polls close.
Right. And you've had some good endorsements. Talk about those.
Sure. I am really fortunate to have Senator Mark Leno step up and support me. Our supervisor, Scott Wiener, here in District 8, a number of political clubs, the Alice B. Toklas Lesbian Democratic Club, the Noe Valley Democratic, Richmond Democratic Club, some labor unions. I feel very confident about all that.
So when you're elected to school board, if you're elected to school board, what do you want to do? How can you convince those people who might, they may not say it to your face, but like, well, he's really just interested in the LGBTQ kids.
Right.
What's it going to mean for my kids?
Sure. The the work that I've done is not just simply about our LGBTQ kids. It is about, as I have been saying on the campaign trail, frankly, it's about all of our children in all of our schools in all of San Francisco. This is about the legacy that we leave behind for our children, not just our LGBTQ children. So, you know, in listening to parents in my campaign over the last 15 months or so that I've been speaking to people, you know, there's a couple of wonky things in the district about the implementation of Common Core, new standards, but then also a couple of bigger things. One is around the engagement of parents. Generally, parents in the district have said they don't feel as engaged as they'd like to be with the school district. And then really the third and the biggest thing that I have been talking about, David, is that I don't believe that the success of our kids in our schools today is just simply between 7:40 in the morning and 2:40 in the afternoon. It's a much bigger conversation. To me, I'm calling it the whole child conversation. You know, I want our children coming to school ready to learn. Healthy teeth, healthy eyes, fed, so that when they sit down in that chair, all of our children are ready to learn.
Well, you know, San Francisco has a reputation, for ill or not, of not being a real child-friendly city. I mean, you don't see a lot of kids on the streets. Well, I mean, outside of some neighborhoods, you really don't. How do you combat that perception, but also change the reality of San Francisco being kid-friendly or family-friendly?
Right. Well, we do have the lowest percentage, facts. We have the lowest percentage of any major city with children, so that's a fact. But San Francisco is an extremely child-friendly city in that we have, again, support mechanisms and funding for children's programs here and within the school district itself that no other city in the United States of America has. So how we work with our children here is unique, and it is extremely supportive. We just don't have as many as in other cities.
Right. Let's talk a little bit specifically about some of the gay community's issues. I remember when I came to San Francisco, we weren't initials. We were just gay.
Right.
Or sometimes what people yelled out off the bus were, you know, not words. Worse.
Yeah.
And then it was LGBT, and then it was LGBTQ, and then it was LGBTQQ.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being kind of flip, but I would imagine for a young person, it's those last two initials that are really kind of troubling, I mean, or challenging. I mean, when I was 11, 12, 13, I didn't know if I was Q or Q.
Right.
How important is having a progressive member of the school board to a young person who says, I'm questioning my gender identity, I don't know if I'm gay, I don't know if I'm straight, I'm just, you know.
Right.
How does a young person deal with that?
You know, the things that I have learned over my years of working with really smart people is, you know, just teasing this out a little bit. One, there's your gender identity, and two, then your sexuality. Two very different things. So having young people look up at the dais of 7 people and having someone sit up there who is a gay man, out gay man, you know, in a position of leadership, being able to talk about issues, being able to ask really tough questions, being able to be warm and welcoming to the conversation, allowing for our children to explore and to be able to be comfortable in the situation that they're in, frankly, is the real thing that I think is so beneficial to our kids today.
You know, I had on a previous show the vice mayor of Richmond, California, Ivanka Beckles, talking about just some of the horrible homophobia and racism that has been aimed at her as an official. But the thing that really bothered her was the fact that there were some kids programs over there and people were saying nasty things about the kids. Are we over that in San Francisco, or do we still have kids that get bullied in our schools?
Oh, sure. I mean, bullying is going on everywhere. I don't want to play that it's not, because it's absolutely happening in our schools every single day. It's happening less. We have a number of programs. We have a number of initiatives to address bullying in our schools. But you bet it happens right here in our own backyard. It does.
And how does that make you feel? What would you like to do as a member of the school board to help correct that? Because the bullying is not just aimed at LGBT. It's always the kid that's not good at baseball, or that person dresses funny, or you're a nerd.
Right, absolutely. It doesn't matter. You know, I was really fortunate a few years ago to work with the school district while I was on the advisory committee to the Human Rights Commission to actually work with the school district to pass a resolution related to LGBT youth and bullying and their health. So again, being someone who, passing a resolution is one thing, but actually then sitting at the dais to monitor, to ask, and to implement, and again, having the relationships with community partners to reach out, to pull them in closer, to be able to, again, build these support mechanisms for our children, not just the LGBTQI kids, but for all of these children to understand these are the things that happen when you bully or when you're bullied.
Were you bullied as a kid in Iowa?
Oh, sure. I mean, I could tell you all kinds of stories.
Well, tell me, we've got a few moments. You know, what is it in your personal life that made you think, I want to work with kids?
Yeah. Again, it goes back a little bit to the bullied part was, you know, while I was an athlete and I was a lot of things, I was also a band geek. I could go on and on. But, you know, there were the other cool kids that, you know, I was the queer or the fag or the sissy. Absolutely, those words were used. And you stuff those way down deep inside and do what you can with them and try to hide behind all of that.
Right.
And, you know, taking that while knowing quietly who I was
Has informed your political
has
career.
absolutely informed my political career.
Thanks for being with us. We've been speaking with Mark Murphy, candidate for the school board. I'm David Perry. Thanks for watching.